poetry, or even literature, into all forms of art. So my presentation is just to give you a gist about how much there is, and by no means is my presentation exhaustive, or an exhaustive list of artworks. So, Richu, could you please let me know if you can see my screen? Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, Meher, the screen is up. Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to encourage the participants and the viewers here to do is that, so we know that postmodernism focuses a lot on subjectivity, right? And we know when it comes to artworks, there is no one way of looking at it. Every individual has their own way of perceiving art, which should be encouraged and which is encouraged by postmodernist theorists. And art always encourages us to think. And so when I show you these paintings and sculptures and architecture pieces, it would be great if you can post your first impressions of the artwork in maybe one word or maximum two. You can also unmute yourselves to say those words. If they come up on the chat, Richu, maybe you can say those words out loud and it would be helpful. And we will take those words when we are talking about these artworks. And yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm Meher Gandhi, and I'm the Public Relations Officer and Program Coordinator here at AIFEST. And it is my pleasure to be presenting to you on witnessing postmodern architecture, paintings, and sculptures. So yeah, just to keep in mind as we witness these art forms, postmodernism challenges a few things, including grand narratives, general understandings or reason, as we understand it famously, and objectivity. And it focuses on being on skepticism, on subjectivism, and also it
Meher,
focuses on,
uh,
yes.
is there a place with better range? There is some disturbance in the audio.
Oh, is it like an echo or something?
Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Is it fine
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. Continue.
Thank you, Riju. Yeah. So it challenges grand narratives, it challenges objectivity, it challenges reason as we famously understand it, but it focuses on being subjective, on subjectivism, on skepticism, and it also focuses on pastiche, parody, anti-novel, magic realism, all of these terms that we generally come across when we start learning about postmodernism. But the key is to apply and understand these terms when we're analyzing or just going through museums and looking at art forms. So you can definitely learn more on Britannica. I've given a link here. So let's move on with architecture. And so this is the newest arts gallery. And believe me, there are hundreds of pronunciations for this. If anyone knows the correct one, please feel free to unmute yourselves and let me know. But this is by James Sterling and Michael Wilford. Now, here I want to ask: when you look at this green and brown, are there some words that come to your mind? What are your first impressions? If you could please put those words on the chat box or maybe unmute yourselves. Some of the
Participants,
words, yeah, Richu?
participants, you're welcome to share your observations in the comment box or right now.
Yeah, I know it's a little mind-boggling when you see these works at first, but some of the words that come into my mind are eclectic, also green. So ecology comes to my mind, which is interesting because postmodernism and studying ecology can have a lot of intermingling between them. So this particular piece of architecture, it has elements of postmodernism, and it has neoclassical elements that are blended together. And it's situated in Germany, and it was opened to public on 9th of March in 1984. And it so there's an article by Rebecca Brown where they say that this this particular architecture, it moves away from the conventional form of form following function. So it moves away from that. So a lot of the architecture that we see around us is, it basically follows the convention of form following function. So the structure is a lot dependent on the function that it is supposed to perform. But postmodernism hits at exactly that. So that's why I included this here. Richu, are there any words that come to your mind when you see this piece of architecture?
Curvy.
Ah, yeah, curvy, yes. Interesting. So, yeah, this is the next piece of architecture. So it's called. There's one word that should obviously come to everyone's mind when they see this. I'll give you a few seconds to think about those words and maybe come back with them. It's again about subjectivity, so that's why I'm encouraging people to think about uh, focusing their thoughts in one or two words. And this is open to also, if we have our organizing team members here as well, please do participate.
Annie Saifi says ecology.
Yes, ecology, yes, because of all the green greenery here. Yes. Any other words?
Excuse me, Meher.
Yes.
I think this arc shape of the design is what is coming to my
Yes,
notice.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And there are a lot of circular pieces as well. So, like you said, arcs, but there are also circular pieces. And if you look for a little more longer, you'll realize that the word that should come to your mind is Egyptian. So this is an Egyptian house, the Sphinx Hill, and it was designed by John Outram Associates. It was created by it was created by James O. Davis, and so the creator was commissioned. The designers were commissioned by an Egyptian, and it was built between 1998 and 1999. So it's not that old as well, and it is a modern interpretation of a typical of an Egyptian house. So again, it's about
Okay,
interpreting.
we
Yeah.
have Javi saying monastery, Sakshi Bansal saying geometry. Is there
Oh
any?
yes, both amazing words. Monastery, yes, and geometry, very interesting. There are a lot of geometrical elements in Egyptian pyramids that we see, and also when we study architecture, geometry plays an entirely very important role. So thank you for that word. I probably couldn't have thought of it if I hadn't. Yeah, if I didn't have you say that word. Yeah, thank you. So that's about the Sphinx Hill, and I've given some links and sources here that you can. So Google Arts and Culture was one of the main sources of information, and definitely you can all check it out for more interesting views. And now I'll talk to you a little about painting. So we know that postmodernism has focused on high art and low art, and so postmodernist paintings are very famous for focusing on the so-called low art, which would include anything that is part of popular culture, pop culture as we know it, or mass production. And in the visual arts, this particular term, postmodernist paintings, this term was used most widely in the mid 1980s in the USA. And the term was used for works that were more critical of the easily accepted social values and cultural values. So paintings again become an important source of just embracing postmodernism and postmodernist ideas. And so this is one work called Booster by Robert Rauschenberg. And is there any word that comes to your mind when you see this? I had a lot of words that came to my mind when I saw this, but I want to know from you.
Catherine had said that the early picture showed like orange circles seem like head, so the arc seemed like four people holding the ceiling together. So similarly, this picture that you showed of the X-ray thing. Oh, my Sakshi and Javi is saying Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. The word that came to my mind was forensic, somehow, because maybe I recently read something about forensic psychology and all. Maybe that's why it came to my mind. But yeah, Frankenstein definitely. It has that uh, vibe to it. But thank you for that word. And if there's any Richu, please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. So the artist is Robert Rauschenberg here, and it was created in 1967. And it is considered Robert Rauschenberg is considered to lay foundation for pop art. And what you see on your screen is a lithograph. And in the 19 around the 1950s, this artist's work made use of objects like tires or like taxidermied animals, and the images of the skeleton that you see are actually the artist's own X-ray images, which is very interesting. And if you look closely, you will be able to see an astronomer's chart, which is a reference to how the heavenly bodies moved back in 1967, the year in which this piece of art was created. Again, you can see a superimposed or an image of a chair there. You can see a lot of other elements. The fact that the artist has used his own X-ray images, it proves again that this is definitely a postmodernist work, because it makes use of things around, and it makes use of things that have existed previously to create a new and a different and a unique art form. Anything that any words that come? Yeah, Richu?
That is what a president feels, that it looks like kind of an X-ray. And Divya Jyoti has an interesting observation. It looks like the concentration camps in Auschwitz,
Oh,
Holocaust.
wow, that's very enlightening. See, this is why we should be encouraged to look at art forms not just from the perspective of being academic or being, of knowing so much, but simply from the perspective of being viewers who are interested to look at these art forms. Thank you, Richu. Thank you, Divya Jyoti. And one more person was there, right?
Our president,
Yeah,
Isha.
oh yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Uh, so let's move on to the next artwork. I'm pretty sure a lot of you would have already come across this one. It's famous when it comes to postmodernist artworks. So this is the Marilyn diptych by Andy Warhol, and it was created in 1962. There are a couple of words that can obviously come in your mind when you see this work. Even if you don't look closely, even if you just look it through, just go over it, you will be able to find some words. Let me know if there's any words on the chat box, or if anyone wants to unmute.
Haimanti Bakchi feels that it indicates pluralism. Javi and the Polaroids, photocards and wallets.
Yes, great words. Absolutely, the words that that can come very easily. So, also another word that can come to your mind is repetitiveness. And this is a series of silk screen prints, and this is Marilyn's image from the film called Niagara. And according to an article on the artstory.com, this is a postmodern work because, firstly, it is a clear reference to popular culture, Marilyn Monroe, and secondly, it emphasizes on mass production, like I mentioned earlier. Postmodernist work focuses a lot on popular culture and mass production. So this particular piece does that with the repetitive use of the images in color and in black and white. And so yeah, the repetitive nature of the work itself makes it a postmodernist piece of art. Any observations, anything, do let me know, and Rich, you can say
Yeah.
them out loud.
Javi again feels that is the black and white picture smudged on purpose.
That's an interesting thing. So we can definitely look that up. But when you even when we go out and take out printouts, if often you'll see that if we take same thing, if we get it printed again and again, something happens and the ink smudges. Also, the ink smudges when you've just recently taken the printout and you're not being very careful with it, and you put your hands all over it or you keep it somewhere, the ink smudges. So I think if that happened on purpose, there must be a reason behind it. But if it happened just by chance, I think it just adds to the postmodernist nature of not being perfect, of not having everything on point and accepted by everyone. So I think we can definitely read between the pictures. So let's move on to the sculptures now. So a lot of what we discussed for painting stands true for sculptures as well. This is an amazing piece of art by John Baldessari. It's called The Penguin, very rightly so. It would have been amazing if it was called The Lion or something too. But it is called The Penguin, and it was created in 2018. So it's the most recent work in this presentation. Any words that come to anyone's minds? Please don't say penguin, something else.
And I'm surprised, why is it named penguin? It should be named fish or seal or
Fish
something.
or lion. It looks like a lion to me, right?
A lion.
Subjective.
Javi, bird in a tuxedo. And
Ah,
then
yes.
Sakshi, Henry because Oswald. What's that?
Mm. Memories now. Yeah, true.
And
If you look at, yeah, sorry, did you go on, please?
Angel Tess feels that this penguin is standing out of place. It does not belong here. Ablasar
Mm.
feels it looks like the standing lion.
Mm. Yes, very interesting observation. So if you look at the feet, if you look closely at the feet, is there anything that comes to your mind when you look at the feet?
Ishaman feels it's a bird in a human form. Oh, this is some sort of, is it some sort of Egyptian sculpture with the leg separate head, wings separate head?
It's like the lion with the Sphinx head, the kind of thing we see in Egyptian pyramids and all.
Right, yes, ma'am. And I also liked your observation on how it feels like a bird in a human's form, because now that I look at it more closely, yeah, it does. But this was created in 2018, and it is made out of polyurethane, stainless steel, epoxy resin, and acrylic paint. And this, very interestingly, this sculpture is a reference to the original Mary Poppins movie. And the legs, which I was asking you to focus on also, it is also reference to Charlie Chaplin's Walk. So the way he walks and the way he conducts himself while standing, it's a reference to that as well. So this is definitely a very interesting work, and it fits with the with what and it fits with what Baldessari told his students to write on the walls of the institution. He told his students to write this following statement: "I will not make any more boring work." And it fits with that, so it's definitely not boring, it definitely stands out. So yeah, and it definitely is a postmodernist work because it is clearly a reference to popular culture with Mary Poppins movie and the Charlie Chaplin's Walk and all of that. So here again, we can look at how grand narratives are being shattered through sculpture, and the artist is known to be like that, is known to have challenged what art is usually perceived to be generally.
And Javi also feels like the penguin is wearing fluffy pajamas. Ablasar feels like this looks like the giant in Second Coming.
What does it look like, Abhilash sir?
The
Am I
giant,
audible?
The
yes,
one which you have in the poem Second Coming, WB, it's
Oh, yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So thank you for all the observations. We'll move on to the last piece of art. This one's called Marker Number Two, and it was created in 2009. Again, not that old. It's created by Mel Kendrick, and Again, a very interesting piece of work. I think all of these works need to be looked at for more than a couple of hours to really understand what's happening and to absorb it all. But this artist is known to create sculptures using sliced pieces of wood. So, yeah, what does it look like to everyone else? Are there any words?
Ishaman feels that it is an extraordinary piece of art created with a very different perspective. And frankly, I was reminded of that, that Easter Island sculptures.
Yes, yes, true. True, and you can see it's the way the photograph is also taken, but also you can see the slicing. So if you look at the bottom half, you can see the slicing very closely.
Yeah, that's what Javi feels. She feels they are giant sliced erasers placed together.
Yeah. Oh, yes, giant sliced erasers. Yes,
Fragmented.
absolutely.
Saha feels a fragmented whole. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Great
Layers,
observation.
a layered lampshade. Ishaman.
Oh, yes, lampshade. Yes, ma'am. Definitely can see that now. So, a lot of things when we look closely, when we're thinking about something and when we look at something else, see that previous object in that new thing. So I think the way we interpret artwork also says a lot about us and maybe our current states of mind. So that's why again subjectivity comes in, because the way that I look at this piece of art right now may not be the same way I look at it tomorrow or maybe a couple of days later. And that's why it's interesting. So art can never really be old in that sense, because every time you look at it, you look at it from, you have the possibility of looking at it from a new perspective, which is derived from your own current experiences and your own feelings. So that's why we embrace subjectivity here. And this work, it experiments with positive and negative spaces. Clearly you can see with the way the artwork has been sculpted, the way the slicing has been done, there is a lot. Sorry, is there someone speaking?
I'm speaking, but Niti Thakur feels that it is imperfectly perfect, and Ishaman feels that the work has been left kind of incomplete to refer to our own imperfections.
Yes. Thank you so much for those observations. So yeah, the way it has been sculpted and the way it has been sliced, it definitely shows that there is a very intelligent use of space, both negative and positive. And it is this, and the artist is known to create a bronze casts out of existing deconstructed pieces of work. And and like I said, the artist experiments with negative and positive spaces. And reading about it on again on Google Arts and Culture, I found out that it allows us to see the shapes in our minds. So the artwork, when you first look at it, you can see the shapes separately, and so it allows us to imagine these spaces in our mind and rotate them or twist them the way we would like to see a perfect art form. And I would like to extend it to how I would like to extend it to how it is also about twisting reality, in a sense, and or really checking if it is real at all. And again, that is a postmodern idea to yeah, give us all a reality check at every step that we take. So definitely, if you think of these shapes separately and you try to imagine them and you try to play with them in your mind, you would probably be twisting reality, because reality is what you see in this picture, and what you're doing in your mind is you're twisting it or you're reconfiguring it. But that was from me today, and I'd like to thank you for your generous responses and everything, and all the responses on the chat as well. Thank you, Ritu, for saying them out loud. Um, yeah, thank you so much. I hope this was thought provoking in continuation with what Manu sir just communicated in the previous lecture. And looking at postmodern art forms, be it thank you ma'am, be it a sculpture, be it architecture, or be it any painting or any piece of literature, it is important that we do not discriminate, in the sense that we do not say that okay, this particular ideology is only for this particular art form. All art is necessary to be evaluated and analyzed from our own sense of understanding and perspectives. That's why I brought to you architecture, paintings, and sculpture. Thank you, Richu.
Thank you, Meher.